All right, and welcome back to our fifth installment. Is that right? I think the math is right on that. Whatever it is, it's pages 200 to 250 of our 50 pages a day War and Peace Quarantine Edition read through. How are you doing, Dimitri?
I'm doing great, taking a walk and keeping my distance. Probably no more than usual.
You are outdoors. I am in my bedroom. This is classic quarantine odd couple behavior.
Sure.
What did you tell us about the 50 pages we read today? What tell us about what happened?
Well, a lot happened. Pierre got engaged without actually proposing.
It was
Uh,
an awkward engagement.
Maria had the ugly princess. Maria had a
Oh,
realization
jeez.
about who she's going to spend the rest of her life with, most likely her dad.
Or
And
God.
we went back to the front. We found out that Andre indeed dislocated his arm when
Mm.
falling from a horse.
Hmm.
That's why it was dead and got promoted for to a hussar, a dashing one, and kind of doesn't like, but also has a kind of a hate-love relationship with Prince Andre. They
He
almost
does.
fought a duel. They
They almost
considered
dueled, yes.
that's right. Meanwhile, Boris is looking to get promoted, being the good son to his mom Anna.
That is a great summation of what we read. Let's start with our two engagements. We got two very different engagements. Pierre, both facilitated by the conniving and wily Prince Vasily,
Really, yes.
who was able to successfully marry off one of his daughters and unsuccessfully marry off one of his sons.
Anatoly.
That is right. So he basically sort of did the thing where you sort of what JFK did, where you send two letters or you receive two letters from Russia and you respond to the one that you want to be true. And whatever that story was in the Cold War, where he got one letter
During the
saying, we're
Cuban
going to.
Missile Crisis.
Yes,
That's right.
exactly. Exactly. So he basically just walked in the room and acted as if the proposal he was hoping happened already happened and made it so awkward that the two young people had no choice but to pretend that it actually did happen and do what they wanted to. But how do we feel about Pierre? I don't feel like this section made him look so great. He's first of all a bit enamored with his sudden fame and attention that's come with all of the wealth that he's gotten. And in addition to that, he keeps talking about how dumb he thinks his future wife is. How did you feel? How did these pages, if at all, change your feelings about Pierre?
Well, I'm the opposite. I adore Pierre. Uh, he's a people pleaser. I think having gotten a fortune, instead of telling everybody to screw off, he's trying to integrate himself into society and trying to live up to everybody's expectations of him. No more speeches about Napoleon, no more speeches about workers of the world unite. Um, he's being a good little boy. Uh, it's not going to last, but this is endearing.
Yeah, okay, I can see that. He's bumbling his way through it, but he's definitely far from being proactive in any sense, or and he is, he is enjoying the limelight, which I guess we can't really blame him for. I guess anybody would enjoy all of a sudden being the toast of the town.
The belle of the ball.
He is definitely now the belle of the ball. The ugly duckling is now the beautiful swan, purely from his financial change. And then we get Anatole, who's, I think, a son of a bitch, to put it nicely. Um,
Yes, refreshingly so. He
yeah,
is very villainous, kind of like a villain in a Mozart opera, a comic Mozart opera, or maybe like Don Giovanni. You know,
he's a,
he's unrepentant.
he is, and he's all, but there's sort of like a Clockwork Orange, punk rock kind of like burn it all down vibe to him a little bit too. Like he got excited by disappointing the Bolkonsky father, and and he sort of he saw it all as this big game, and he doesn't seem very affected by it. He seems a little disassociated.
He sees Prince Bolkonsky, the elder, as an object of interest and humor. He's looking forward to, oh, what is the old man going to say next? You know, which kind of, so am I. I want to see what the old man is going to say next.
Yeah, I can see that. I'm noticing a little bit of a delay between what I'm saying and the video, but we're gonna push through because I think the visual is not as important as our audio. Um, so we then get Anatole sort of falling in love with, or rather falling in lust with Maria's friend.
Tutor, I think she is.
Yeah, or is okay, yeah, but definitely not the one he's supposed to be courting. Um,
No,
and
she
this
has no money.
Yeah, and this poor woman is, of course, taken with this young, wealthy, fancy lad, and her religious friend or tutee is just happy for her friend's happiness, and is willing to swallow her own feelings and fears and even her father's wishes, and do what God will in this situation, which is for her to, I don't know, get thee to a nunnery in some sense.
This section is making me question whether the novel is as funny in the original Russian as it is in English. Because the situation with Maria playing the piano while these two are playing footsie underneath the piano, and she thinks that the looks of adoration that they have for each other are actually directed at her. That is a classic comic situation of mistaken intentions. And
Yes,
In English literature, we have a tradition of comedies that are based on mistakes and errors. Shakespeare's first play is called The Comedy of Errors, and it's about uh, mistaken identities. All of Jane Austen is a comedy of mistaken intentions, and all those end well. Uh, All's well that ends well. Another
sure.
Shakespeare play. That's the basis of every single romantic comedy we have. Uh, we expect people who are making mistakes to be funny because at the end, we know everything's gonna be revealed, and everyone is gonna be happy. But the Russians don't have that tradition. Their comedy is based on something else, and Austen and Shakespeare and Dickens to a large extent, who also relies on that, are not part of what people would have been reading at the time that Tolstoy was writing. So it's
Hmm.
quite possible that for them, Maria's mistake is actually tragic rather than comic. And we are laughing at it in a way that maybe, or at least I'm laughing at it in a way that Tolstoy maybe did not intend.
Yeah, maybe we've been trained by modern sensibilities to see the humor there that maybe they weren't seeing back then, you're saying.
Yeah. Or actually modern since Shakespeare.
Right, sure, sure, sure. Um, so from those two very bizarre engagements or near engagements, we move back to the front line, staying in the same book. So now we are not just going back and forth between a war book and a peace book. We're now getting some war and some peace in the same book or the same section. And But we transitioned through a letter, which is nice. He always has these very cinematic transitions where we're hearing about the war first to soften us up before we actually head there, and we are given a letter from Nikolai, and everybody is so happy that he got a medal, and his mother has read it 1,000 times to everybody in the house, and he has
And a
been
promotion.
promoted, a promotion. And then we move into it, and the first thing we see is Nikolai lying uh, to a group of people about what happened, and sort of making it a better story than it actually was, giving them what they want.
And it's a commentary on the book by the
Yeah,
writer.
absolutely.
Tolstoy is making the claim that he's telling us, the readers, the truth
Right.
about the war, unlike other storytellers. And there's a bit of a critique there that's maybe politically pointed because Nikolai is also in love with the Tsar. When the Tsar comes in and inspects the troops, he just radiates, glows with love for the head of the government and the head of his country in a way that feels unabashedly naive to us, maybe to others.
Yeah, well, it's almost like we get a third love story here, which is the love story between Nikolai and the young, dashing emperor Alexander. Um, and I imagine Nikolai would have happily proposed to Alexander if given the opportunity in that moment as he walked past him.
He says, "I'll gladly die for you," basically
Yeah,
in this part. Yes.
there's more love between him and Alexander than we see in either of the two couples that were just being nearly engaged to each other.
Sure. Especially since we know what Anatoly really wants.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's it for these 50 pages here. General thoughts, Dimitri, of your experience reading the book so far, 250 pages in?
Uh, I think when the both the peace sections and the war sections return, they build on the previous sections.
Mm-hmm.
What you already know about the characters is really enriching your experience. And the pace really picks up, I think,
Yeah.
because we don't need to be reintroduced to these characters quite as much. We know their situation, and developments happen thick and fast.
It
This is a long book, but not a slow one.
Yeah, as a reading experience, it reminds me a lot of Game of Thrones, just in the sense that there's this huge cast of characters and you're traveling geographical large distances and you're excited every time you're reintroduced to a character you haven't seen in 100 pages and you're excited to move to this new location. And it does a great entertaining thing of keeping it moving while, keeping the different plates spinning of all the different plot lines and characters and locations. And by the time you tire of one, you're excited to jump to the next and on and on.
I
Um,
agree.
Alrighty. Well, tomorrow we hit page 300. And
At the end of book one, or the first tome, or
that
the
is
first
correct.
quarter,
That
the
is
first
correct.
major break.
The first major break at page 300. And we hope you all join us for that tomorrow and enjoy the rest of your walk, Dimitri.
Matt, thank you so much for inviting me on this journey.
All right. Take care, friend. Bye bye.
You too.